call this meeting in order. Let the agenda show that this is, or let the minutes show that this is the Carroll County Fiscal Court regular meeting, December 10th. And at this time, we will stand and do the pledge of allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, would you please?
Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, again, we just thank you. Thank you this time of year, Lord. First of all, for your son coming here and the way he did. And, we're thankful for the freedoms we have in this country together. So we pray that you would be over the proceedings this morning, Lord, with our guests and then our elected leaders here as we will make decisions and so forth. Be with our men and women that are protecting us both here at home in the fire and EMS and our law enforcement, and also those that are scattered around the globe, Lord. Just watch over them, especially this time of year when they're separated from the families, Lord. And these things we ask in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Need a motion to approve the minutes for November 26th.
Second.
Motion by Clay, second by Benji. All in favor, say aye. Budget transfer, no motion. Motion by Clay.
Benji, there's a bit of a discrepancy here, and we don't understand that Danielle's gonna make a request for $60,000, I think, to cover your expenses, and which you've done a great job of laying that out, but then we've got a request here for $103,000, so, I know you got bills to pay and stuff, so.
I don't know anything about them well,
Yeah,
so
and
maybe brought to my
the judge has got
unless
it.
it's to cover the first quarter, where it's
Yeah,
the first quarter payment.
and it could very well.
That's what's doing.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, because she's got some handwritten math on there, but just not following the logic, so. But I guess we just need to know that.
Just follow it with David, which comes back with
Yeah,
that
but we can
40,000.
make a motion to approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second by Scott, all in favor, say aye.
And,
Invoice approvals. Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Scott, second by
I'll second it.
Benji. All in favor, say aye. All right, we have a presentation today. This is what we've been working on our facilities here in the county and stuff. I send it. This is stuff we've been working on for, what, a year now, close to a year. And everything when we first came in, so. We have their representatives here and whatever, so if you all would like to take it over and go.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Magistrates, thank you for the opportunity to be here today in this beautiful sunny morning.
Yeah.
Full foggy out there today. So we're with Ascendant Facility Partners, and like the judge said, we've been working with the county for quite some time now to help find some ways to take energy savings from installations of different types of systems, and then use those savings to, if possible, to help with some other problems and upgrade some of the systems here in the county.
I think I got a bill, so it'd be good. Well, there we go.
So a quick agenda, not reading, talk about who we are, talk about the goals, and then talk about the process a little bit that this procurement is under what's called guaranteed energy savings contracting. Talk a little bit about what we found during our studies of your facilities, make some recommendations, talk about the savings, environmental impact, and next steps and timeline. They're living through technology. Can you see that okay?
No, it's scrolling. Sorry.
Stuff's great when it works. Well, anyway, I'm
Let's
Mr.
scroll.
Shop.
There you
This is Ryan Baker, my esteemed associate and driver of the laptop. A couple of just points that I think are important. We are a Kentucky-owned and operated entity, and everybody that works with us, so we're based out of Paducah. We have offices in Glasgow. I live in Frankfurt and operate out of Frankfurt. Ryan's the only outlier. He just had to get across the river to Evansville, but we don't, well, we worry about that. But anyway, So it is important that we are locally owned and operated. I think everybody in our entity is, and firm is from Kentucky and lives in Kentucky. We do have some affiliate memberships with some of the associations that are important to you all, with KCO, Kentucky Judges and Magistrates Association. So good thing that, we participate in the folks that we're working with and give back to the community. So some of the goals that we talked about with Matt and the short timer, and his name, Matt, Matt, and and the judge was to upgrade all interior and exterior lighting to LED, similar to what you have here in the fiscal courtroom. Anywhere we can standardize the lighting, because we noticed in some of the facilities you've got from different colors to different types to what have you. So that would be one of the key savings items to bring in standardization, maintenance and operability, ease being LED, and then, standardization of some of the coloring as well. Building thermal envelope improvements, just what we can do to the facility itself from a building and envelope, air infiltration, exfiltration. More importantly, here at the courthouse is the windows. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, but if you're not familiar with that, the windows here, mostly single pane glass, have been here since the 70s. So that's having a bearing on the building occupancy efficiency and the building occupancy comfort. So water conservation, anything we do to save water. We also, one of the key items was looking at solar PV development and deployment because of the federal funding available and the tax credit aspect. It's a very viable strategy in this part of the country right now with Kentucky. So we're looking at that, and we'll show you where we can do that. And building automation, how we can control the systems within the facilities to run the comfort and the efficiency as possible. Window and door upgrades, I touched on that a little bit, roofing replacement and guaranteed pricing. So the thing about this that's different than the typical design bid build is that we have a performance guarantee. So there's two things. Once we come up with a project price, there are no change orders. So if we miss something or find something that's wrong, that we just tell you we found it, and then we tell you what we're going to do about it. So we don't come back and say, well, that's the designer, that's the constructor. Well, we're all of them. So that's the type of procurement that this falls under, allows us to do that. And that gives you a single point of accountability. The second part is based on the statute. There's a guarantee here for the savings that we provide. So if we don't make the savings by law, we pay the difference. So we'll talk about that down the road. So what that does is it gives you a guaranteed revenue stream for the funding that you're seeking. So that makes it a better system, better operation. You don't have to go out to taxpayers and get more money. So,
Stuart, I got some questions here, so I guess I'm just gonna try to, if it's okay,
Jump on.
go on slides here. So, on this one, can you kind of talk about what else is included in that building thermal and envelope improvements? And the reason I ask is I know, and we'll get into a few more slides here, but TISOC's in here. And I guess where does insulation and some of those type of things fall? Because those buildings, I'm assuming, have zero insulation.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of them were built back in the day when insulation energy was free and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah,
what
so
does that all mean?
we looked at KISOC, and so like insulation, we're doing a barrier here, the problem with KISOC in those smaller buildings is they're not using a bunch of, you're not spending a lot there from an energy standpoint. So we looked at, Judge asked about, putting the Parks and Rec house, obviously with the roof, that's very well done in the attic, it's very well insulated, so that one was good, but the other ones aren't using enough now to really justify, hey, this is a standalone measure.
Well, and that's probably something, I guess, looking forward, when we get to facility, a KISOC facility, I was curious what that all includes. Is it the Parks and Rec building, is it the lodge, is it
It's
the
everything.
building? It's,
Yep,
so every occupied building, lines, den, pool area?
that's correct, yeah, and the solar's gonna go on the building. itself.
Right, I saw that,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So I was just, so basically you guys are looking to improve, add insulation and stuff where need be, and it's probably justified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stripping, again, weather stripping around the doors when they're not meeting or tightening closures, that's all part of that too. So kind of just dive those, those obviously, like I said, the envelope of those facilities. But
Okay,
all of
okay.
KISOC, judge kind of went and said, we touch one, we touch them all, let's get them all. We got future plans for this, so let's make it, right?
Thank you for that.
Do what you So, and that's a great question. So, I know I kind of covered it globally, but it depends on the facility, and then it depends on the location of the facility and the energy it uses, because you gotta justify. We did look at all of them, trying to make, best as possible, not going through KISOC and doing all the windows, that'd be tough to do.
Yeah.
We only have so much from the pie we can spread.
Well, and that's the thing though, I think that a lot of us have passion for the lodge and so forth, so is the lodge one of the things that's gonna get new windows and new doors and?
So we don't have windows and doors, but we have improvement of building insulation and weather stripping of the existing doors. So we can look at that in a little bit more detail and say, hey, let's move this needle just a little bit more if the door needs to be replaced versus just weather stripping. But based on what we saw, it was getting weather stripping was gonna give you the most bang for the buck versus replacing the entire door. So, at the lodge. Now here, different conversation.
I think to help answer that question a little bit, what we was trying to do is look at windows that we wouldn't take away from the screens and stuff for the lodge and stuff. That's kind of what we're looking at. You can still close them in the winter time, but have them open summer in the spring, fall or whatever, when people wanted that outdoor type thing, so.
But does that mean we're not replacing the windows, or we would be replacing with something that's still aesthetically pleasing and functional?
Yes, something that's still functional.
So it does include windows?
So not
in there,
the lodge,
Not
but
yet.
here at the courthouse.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
because that's gonna be, I guess, questions we've been wanting to do that, so if we're gonna spend the money, I'd be interested in,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
okay, we'll carry on.
Yep.
We just appreciate it. So this is just the process about how a guaranteed energy savings contract works from a functionality and a fiscal standpoint. So if you look at the blue lines here, this is your, if you would, your operating budget for your project when it comes to energy and operations and maintenance, what we call operations cost. And when you get done with the project, your budget will obviously stay the same. It's how you reallocate the dollars within that budget. We'll reduce your energy, we'll reduce the operating costs based on the systems and the materials that are being put in, and then that will go to debt service repayment or however you want to do it. So that's why it's looked at as a self-funding project.
Okay, so quick question on that, because I think the proposal is for $1.8 million, which, if my math is correct, is gonna be about $11,000 a month, financed at the terms you guys have. So, and the savings were about $4,500 a month, so we would be carrying a new debt of about $5,500 for that 20 years. So is this like an ideal situation that you get?
I'll get
Or you got some information on that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm trying to figure it
Yeah,
out.
you're
great segue into the next.
Okay, good deal.
Yep, so there's the self-funding component, which is what you're looking at here, is the reallocation of your existing utility and operating costs to pay the debt service. Now, that debt service typically is self-funded, so it doesn't affect your debt capacity because it has a guaranteed revenue stream. So it's kind of an energy bond, if you will, and that's it, because of it, the way it's structured, then that's what you can look at. The allowable, let me finish this one and I'll go to the next one, which you're answering question. So just as a little more breakdown, so how's it paid for? Reduction in natural gas, reduction in electricity, like water and sewer, that all makes the savings component up, so you combine those together. Now there's gonna be parts of this project that aren't gonna pay for itself in the 20-year typical funding stream. So you try and leverage that, and the law allows you to do that, and that's what we're talking about, some of the other things that you're asking about. I'll walk you through how that works. So, and this is, what we do here on this slide is, we gotta set a baseline of what we're gonna benchmark and save you against. So first thing we had to do is, what are you spending, where are you spending, and how much are you spending? So it's, here's your electricity, obviously that's your highest figure, your natural gas, wastewater, water, so water and sewer on, mostly your bathrooms and that kind of water and sewer, not the other types. So your total annual utility spend is strictly energy, so that doesn't include taxes, fees, anything else, that's just the utility company, about $150,000 a year. So, the good news is, that isn't a huge budget amount compared to what it could be. Downside is, it makes it harder to save when you're not spending a lot. So, yeah, so good news, bad news. So these are these are the facilities that we looked at, the 10 that we took into account for, that got us up to the 150, just let's talk about 150, and then that's your 122, 888, that's the amount of square footage that you're under operation for that uses that utility, or generates that spend. So you're, $1.10, $1.15, $1.20 depending, and this one's the misnomer because you got a lot of square footage there, but it's not compared to other facilities.
Multiple structure.
Local structures. It
So
doesn't.
the baseball complex, that was like 17,000 square feet, so I'm trying to figure out, does that include the concession area, or is it anything that's using lights? I mean, it's certainly not the fields, because those are a whole lot more than that, but.
That's right. No, it's just all facilities out at the park. It was kind of everything fell underneath that,
Okay.
except for.
So even the swimming pool and things?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's even at the pool,
Yep.
okay, so that helps with that.
So what we did during our, next step of the process is now we benchmarked it, and we know what you spend, so now we know what we're saving against. Then, obviously I talked about the lighting, improving the data technology, improving the plumbing technology, any way we can control better what we have in place for occupant comfort and energy efficiency. Talked about building envelope a little bit, and anything that we can bring in from the renewable energy, which is the solar PV deployment. So some of the items here on the existing facility examples. So here's some of the lighting we're talking about at the pool here. Here's they take 20 minutes to come on, LED lights, you're familiar with those, and so those would be converted to LED. Good thing about the LED equation, as you probably will with the flat panels here, is they come with a 10-year warranty at a minimum. So now you're not spending much time changing out lights, lamps, light bulbs, what have you. They're more, I would say sturdy is a better word, especially in the pool scenario where you've got moisture from humidity in the water. So these are the type of things that where you get into that repair and maintenance dollars, now you shouldn't have to be spending any money on lamps. If they're gonna go out, it'll be the driver, not the actual LED, so it's a pretty quick change out.
The other benefit of doing this is, we're gonna help capture all the utility rebates that go along with these fixtures. So we facilitate that, submit that on the county's behalf, so there's a function of, again, we don't guarantee that rebate because it could change, but it is a function of refund back directly to you guys.
You can see the windows here at the courthouse. On the HVAC units, we'll talk about that. So let me park this for just a second, back to your question, Squire Knapp. So the law allows for you to do another additional 50% over and above what your self-funded project is, what they call capital cost avoidance, because the state recognized when putting this together 20-some years ago, this is hopefully not just to do things that save money, but if we can leverage that savings to fix other problems that have a longer payback, i.e., and it has to fall into the categories of like HVAC, anything in the building envelope or security. So that's where the doors come in. There is some efficiency there. If we can get new locks, upgrade for the courthouse, do the windows, help tighten the envelope. So you can go 50% over and above. So that's where you came up with the $1.8 million. That's the leverage piece. So you're getting a project for basically 50 cents on the dollar if you were to go out and just do this without the guaranteed energy savings contract. But we still are on the hook for the performance of it because we're guaranteeing the savings. We also have to make sure that everything works, because if it doesn't work correctly, then we're not going to get the savings. So we're tied to the project, and we're the same with accountability if there's not something. So if there is something, then we make it happen. So we're the designer, the constructor, the manager, and then we measure the ongoing savings and reconcile on an annual basis. We'll come back probably with quarterly reports showing you how we're doing, what the solar is generating, what the offset is, what the savings have been. So you'll constantly be able to know versus what's going on.
So you guys don't just do the work and then leave town and never hear from you?
Right, and I'm only an hour away, and if it's doing well, I'm up here all the time. If it's not, he's here all the time.
That's right. Yeah, I told Judge, you know, like us or not, it's, you know, it's a long-term relationship, so hopefully you like us, you know, so it's, you know.
Well, and to this point, we looked at everything, but there's only so much that'll fit in the basket. So we do have the ability not just to do the project, but also be your sounding board for any of the other things you're talking about to evaluate for you as a partner. So even though we didn't get to, you know, whatever we didn't get to, we have a clock tower.
Right.
You know, we still have, anything else, we still, I just got the no from the judge. But we did look at everything, so we have some input and some, you know, some opinion or some engineering support that we can provide. Looking at other things.
Yeah.
All right, so, project measures by facilities. Without going through all these, what you're gonna see is, you know, we tried to break it down by building, and obviously the courthouse is the big hole in the tent. And green are the ones that are somewhat added to the project that are gonna, you know, be the over and above. But they still provide savings, just not within the 20 years. So you're gonna see water, lighting and water wherever we can do it, the building envelope improvements, depending on which one is at, or what type is at what facility, judicial center, senior center. Now, the jail's a good one. We've spent some time with Jailer Rose, and we're gonna do some major water upgrades to the showers.
Is it safe to say that that's the bulk of the water usage in the county that they are?
Yes, sir.
That's a big hole in the tent, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're focusing on, that one's a big focus, and that's all we're focusing on at the jail or the detention center. So the rest of these are pretty straightforward in what we're doing. Then you'll see that we've got window and door replacements here. So up until 10 days ago, we were focused on changing out the HVAC here. So we've been analyzing this for quite a while, and then we came back and had another one of our partners take a look at it, and Joseph out there who knows the systems really well, and the more we got to talking and looking, it would be based on the age of the system, what's going on, it would be more prudent for us to address the building envelope from the window standpoints here first to tighten up the building. No sense putting in new HVAC and still having the.
That's too big because you have a lot.
Yeah, then you're still gonna have some of the balance issues because every, you know, is different. So I was here Friday, went to the different folks and their different, from the PDA to the sheriff to the county clerk's office, and just, it was good because it was cold that day.
Yeah.
And
It's so cold in the office.
Yeah, windows are not.
yeah, she was like, yeah. Can you do this tomorrow? But that, you know, instead of coming on a mild day when it's not an issue. So what we are in the determining part, and I'll part with by saying, we don't have the end-all solution, but we're close. But whatever we do, I was telling the judge, you know, we want to come back and make sure it's what you all want. We're going to make recommendations and y'all can have input, so we get to the final project. So we're probably on the 10-yard line, but we're not done. And things like the glazing on the windows, how dark we want it to be, what we want to look at. We want to maintain the integrity and the historic look of the courthouse, but, you know, if we can put some glazing on those windows, especially on the south side, that's going to make a huge difference. The opening of windows, right now, they come back in, well, we were talking about having them where they go up 4 inches and stop, and then with having on specific windows in specific areas, if there's an emergency, they can pop the top one so they can, somebody, if there's a fire or situation, people can get out on the first floor. Yeah, on the first floor, except for Matt's office. But yeah, on the first floor. So spoke with the sheriff about that. So everybody seemed to be really positive in helping us decide, yeah, this is the direction we should go, Matt and the judge, and said, yeah, let's tighten up the building first. This needs to be done. It would be good from a reliability and a system standpoint to get the new HVAC, but I think it would just be the wrong philosophy at this time to not do the windows. Because we think the windows are gonna have a better impact on the.
We're gonna take the stress off the HVAC, you know, immediately.
So, I mean, is there potential in these projects to do a phased approach? So at year 3, after you've got your windows done and you assessed, you know, what improvement is, then you do that under the same umbrella, or do you have to kick off another project, or do you just do that anytime?
So we would,
Yes, but it's modified.
yeah,
That's the way to put
yeah,
it.
that's,
So we would probably look at a design build scenario,
Okay.
and go that direction instead of another DESC. We can do we have a lot more latitude under the design build scenario without the guaranteed savings though. So we still can model it, do all the things.
And tailor in the savings to the existing guarantee, so that would be the nice part of, keeping the cohesive.
Well, that's, I mean, it just seems like where you guys have done a lot of work and stuff and kind of have an idea what things are gonna look like. We don't wanna lose that, we wanna leverage that.
Right.
So,
And that's a great point in that the law allows for us, because we wouldn't be able to fit it in, I mean, we could under another GESC, but the funding won't meet the state criteria. So we would just.
but we would probably want to do that anyway for other reasons.
Yeah, but we can still do the savings, we can still see the HVAC get done, we just do it under the.
And then the HVAC is 13, 14 years old, replacing 10-year-old systems, so.
What you want?
He's gonna take over running.
Oh,
No.
So the project financial overview, in a nutshell, we're looking at a 36% savings off the 150. So that'd be around 47,000, we just rounded the numbers for display. Operational savings, we anticipate is gonna be around 20%. Typically, it is of what you spend in utilities, that city repair. It's not labor, but it's repair and maintenance dollars that you're spending now, or whether it's lamps, material, whatever it is that you're not gonna have to spend on an annual basis. And then, so that gives you around 53,500 or 4450 a month. Then the energy savings project would be the 966,000 with an investment tax credit of 143,000 coming back to you on the solar.
And again, those are rounded.
Yeah, so very close, plus or minus 5%. Do you understand, do you want me to explain real quick how the investment tax credit works?
sure.
Okay.
I mean, unless somebody else
How long
knows.
have we been through this?
Sorry, Judge has been steeped in.
Judge is a CPA now.
We can explain it to you.
So real quick, with the infrastructure bill, the Investment and Inflation Reduction Act was passed 3 years ago. Kentucky, there were communities across the country that were designated as energy communities. Energy communities were those entities that have been impacted by the reduction in whether it's coal mining, whether it has had a negative impact on the labor and the workforce in Kentucky or in those states. There was I think there was 12 of them around the country that were designated as energy communities. So in the Inflation Reduction Act, anyone who does solar gets a 30% tax credit back to them, anybody. If you're an designated energy community, which Kentucky is, which your county is, you get another 10% up to 40. Then if you have the economic justice census tract designation that was done from the 2020 census, you could get up to another 10%, you could take it to 50. And if you do buy, build American, you can get another 10% up to 60%. I'm like, wow, that's great. We don't pay taxes. We're tax exempt. Well, what that infrastructure bill did is, this is like we call it a rebate, but it's paid like a rebate. So we will help you through this process. So we do all the paperwork and set you up everything. And you set up an account with the IRS, you go through the process, you apply for the tax credit, you put in the solar, and then once the solar's done, you provide another report to the IRS that shows it's completed with all the things that they need, and then you'll get a direct paid check back to the county for somewhere close to that amount.
Okay.
So it's, even though, you gotta file a tax return, so to speak, even though you don't pay taxes, but because of it being funded through or dispersed to the IRS, it's a direct pay back to the public entity.
And I'll just add, the timing is critical because obviously you guys are in the fiscal year. We have to be online, from how quickly we can get that check back to you could be November, December of 2025. If we get online before the end of your fiscal year, we're able to file that. So, we're targeting March really as getting the solar started and installed. So
if we miss out on that one, we can go to the next one. Okay, so it doesn't expire, and it's not a one-time. Okay.
No, it's just a matter of where we put that in your performer. When we talk to, Keiko and how that bond fund, do we want it to come back to you in year 3, or would you rather have it back in year 1? So
there's key factors of why this is important now. One is the current administration changing. So even though this was a bipartisan Congress bill, don't know. There's just that unknown, so there, you know, the why wait is probably a good thing. Number two is the timing of getting the systems in, because right now we're in the low peak. We're probably gonna target saving somewhere between 35 and 40% net savings on facilities where we put the solar over a 12-month period. But by the time we're done, if we can turn it on in March or, you know, April, we're hitting the peaks Sundays versus coming back where we are now in the lower. So on a 12-month period, it'll average out to around 35-40%. There'll be days in the summertime, you might be running net zero on those buildings.
Those are some questions I guess I had about that. I mean, are these gonna be solar arrays that, I mean, when we're not using power on Saturday and Sunday at the road department, we're pumping power to the grid then?
No, so they're sized to about 30% of your bill, so that's the kind of the sweet spot. So, there'll be very little overproduction. You know, again, that raise, your ROIs benefit by having a smaller system that operates to the utility or to you as, and away from the utility all the time. So essentially your base load, so that's why we get interval data to kind of see where you're, you know, when you're midnight, what is that base of the building, compressors, you know, heating and air, those kind of things. So we kind of size around that. That way, you know, again, if you give it back to the utility, it's 3 cents. If you're using it, it's 10 cents.
So I guess it includes them, because I know utility companies are offering programs where you let them use your roof.
Yeah.
You know, they maintain it, they own it, all that type of stuff for 25, 30 years or whatever, but I mean, I guess you're saying the economics of that are not favorable compared to this option.
Well, you give up that ITC at that point. So it's again, there's a cost of ownership to it, it's very little maintenance, but you guys, you know, are the benefactor of the direct pay and the ITC. So it's, from a financial standpoint, it's probably long-term better for the county to own and operate their own.
What kind of warranties like does the solar panels and all that stuff have on them?
Yeah, so the solar panels, we have, there's a 20-year warranty on the panels themselves. We've got production guarantees on the panels, you know, so if we get in and say it's only putting in at 20-80%, we come in, you know, add 2 or 3 more panels, get you back up to that. The inverters we're putting on extended warranties to match the panels themselves or the term of the contract. So if it's 20-year term, we'll do an extended warranty on the inverters. That's typically where you have the issue. You know, it's converting AC to, you know, DC to AC. So it's a mechanism and so if you have a failure, typically that's very quick, you know, when that system's online. But we go ahead and build in that extended warranty so that way, you know, we need to guarantee production. So we need to guarantee that the system operates for the term of the contract, so.
But it's another thing, like, I was looking at the road department here, like, did y'all check the roof out? Because I know that building's, what, 50, 60 years old or something.
Yeah, that roof was in, you know, again, we look at that to match roof life with the panels on top of them. It's dirty, but it you know, from a standing steam metal roof, it's in pretty good shape.
And structurally, it can handle the load.
Yes, so we do all that engineering calculation, wind load, all that, you know, to make sure. You know, I think you had the one for the pool building, that array probably won't look like that. You know, that tree's got some shading,
Yeah.
so we're gonna get all that, you know, either across the top, kind of like we have at the road department. Again, ease of maintenance, you know, again, it's a cleaning, you know, exercise, it's not really a maintenance, checking wire nuts, those kind of things. So, you know.
It does extend the life of the roof because it's covering the
Yes,
roof.
yeah.
And the panels are durable enough to take on hail, of course. And you might have saw in one of the earlier first slides, they only stick up on the roof maybe this much. So wind, you know, we're putting them on schools, we've got them on schools, the panels are going on the roof's gone. So, but it does, you know, protect the roof from exposure by having the panels up there, so it has benefits from that direction as well.
So you sure it'll handle baseball size hail? I've seen lots of pictures of farms completely destroyed.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And we don't have it very often, but we had a storm this spring, so it's a once every 20 year.
Maybe that call mine.
Yeah,
That's right. Well, and, you know, again, you know, act of God is,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to play the insurance game, but that's, you know,
Yeah.
these are something that would go into your, as an asset to the county, it would be an insurance, but, you know, we've seen, you know, nickel and dime size hail and really, like I said,
Yeah,
it's essentially bulletproof glass is what they've got coating these panels, so, yeah, sorry.
No, great questions. I'm just kind of keeping the, I forgot, I scanned over this because we're talking solar, but this is what give you feel what the windows would look like. You know, different,
And this is really the details that we, you know, again, kind of the conversation today is to get everybody up to speed and kind of say, hey, look, we're in this budget, I know we're going to say 10-yard line, but we don't, without your input, want to sit down and say, hey, we want this sash, we want this color, we want this, is it keypad, is it card access? You know, we want to have those kind of conversations, so.
we'll get into the fine details. And
Yep.
yeah, the good news was that the window, when we were looking at the windows on Friday, the wood's in really good shape. So that's a positive. We didn't see that, you know, just, you don't want to get into it. Next thing you know, you pull something and then everything comes with it. So, you know, so from everything we can see so far, everything looked pretty well to justify, you know, just the, I would call the window replacement and the, you know, covers that go over it, whether it's aluminum, what color do we want, you know, things like that. Blinds were brought up. That's a finisher that we can discuss if we want to keep the blinds or not. It's one of the things I've noticed every time I've been here is, you know, they're all different.
Yeah.
So we'll have some shading on the glass on the south side, but it's, you know, if people want blinds, you need to just determine that because it does make a difference. You know, it does make a difference for them, but it also makes a difference on how it looks. Everybody have their up, down, around.
And we did put an allowance in, I took from Frank, so we've got an allowance in for blinds, so again, if that's something, we don't need a whole blinds, you know, we can obviously structure that. And that's that part of that CCA dollar amount, so again, saying, hey, we're approving up to this dollar amount as we fine tune these windows, you know, that gets you guys, you know, a good comfortable spot to say, the CCA spot's not gonna go any higher, and then we can start working with Compass to kind of sit and run pro forma, and they can, I was with RJ yesterday, you know, front load, back load, you know, it's out of that cable bond rule, so, they'll structure it how you guys see fit, you know, on that bond issuance.
So this is to give you a feel, this is the Lyon County Middle School when it was being constructed in Eddyville. You can see how.
And that's a ballasted system, so like on your full building, it's just a clamp on that standing metal seam, there's actually no penetration, there's no penetration there either, but, you know, that is about the simplest system, and it's really one of the most durable, because you just got that one point of attachment.
Any other, you know, technical, we had the tree here, we talked about the tree, whether it needs to get a haircut or not. Any other questions? Because we're down to, that's pretty much what we have from a technical and an overview standpoint. Any other inputs? These are the, you know, the timeline, we're ready to go. So we're not down to numbers, but we're, except for the windows, everything is except for the windows, and we're real close. We had the budgets come in yesterday, they're right where we wanted them to be.
Yep.
And so, and that includes the doors. So there would need to be some feedback on, again, what kind of doors do you want? How do you want them to look? If we want all that kind of stuff.
So a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So is this a à la carte proposal, or is this an all or nothing? I mean, I guess if, you know, as we go through this and, you know, that type of thing.
What you, and then I'll just speak from Franklin County's, you know, what you don't wanna take out is anything that's got energy savings, obviously, because that's building up your 960, and I'm just rounding, 966. You know, again, if you said, hey, we've got, you know, a little bit more need, let's focus, you know, put a couple more dollars into the lodge. If something were to free up, I would say that's the conversation we need to have. But I wouldn't, I don't like the all or nothing term, but kind of in these programs, once you start pulling strings and pieces, I start losing savings. And so, you know, the things that, and the things that don't seem as attractive, you know, changing water valves at the jail, all of a sudden now reduce your budget to do the things that are more consumer facing, windows, doors, you know, the solar. So, you know, again, I don't like the you know, it's not à la carte, but it's very, we just wanna be very careful what we pick and choose at, you know?
And to that point,
It's on the change zone.
yeah, by going away from the HVAC, what we don't have in here, the HVAC was gonna have some savings, but we didn't know, that's just from a SEER rating increases or something like that, marginal. We don't have any calculations in here for window savings.
So you've got a delta,
So that's not, those would be beneficial savings that aren't a part of the 53.5. So to your point, there's nothing really else, anything else to take out that doesn't drive some sort of savings or comfort. That's been the whole focus is. So when we kind of adjusted our fire from the HVAC, which is, 300-year payback or whatever, to the windows, well, we haven't even put any savings calcs in for the windows.
and there's another piece to that as well, as we're designing and picking colors for the windows, there's a historic property tax credit. The entire downtown Carrollton is sitting on the registry.
Right.
So again, you pay, you're gonna have a little bit of a guideline to fall underneath on what your window selection is, but that turns into a 20% tax credit. Again, kind of like the ITC, these are tax credits that you've gotta sell to a Kentucky-based bank, and then it's about, I think, 75 cents on the dollar once you guys get back. So that's not in here as well. I'm working with the Todd County and the City of Elkton on that, on their welcome center, so they're familiar with that process. So again, this is very conservative. We like being very conservative up front, so that way when you guys say, man, you guys blew it out of the water, we're getting checks from the utility, we're getting checks from, the federal government.
That's fair.
You guys can go and say, hey, these guys overachieved our expectations. That's our end goal, so.
And to build, one last point to build on that real quick, the savings guarantee is we only participate in that if we miss. So if you save more, keep it. We don't participate, that's.
So you've got to meet that threshold.
Yeah, we
Anything above.
revenue
just
neutral
bring them on
threshold,
up.
yeah.
Yes.
So again, I think it's important that we've had a lot of discussion about the window calculations, but they're not factored into what we're presenting today.
You're gonna have a savings on the windows. You can stand by this window right here. You're gonna have that infiltration savings, but there's also compounding with the HVAC also. It's gonna drop down. So both of those things are just kind of gonna be cream on top of the project.
This is, for what it's worth, but I think it's important that this does have a positive environmental impact of what you're doing. And I always like to look at this comes off the EPA website, and the charging, this would be, what you're saving would be equivalent to charging almost 34 million cell phones a year. So, but that's important, so what you're doing as a fiscal court is you're showing fiscal responsibility for finding the best efficient way to make improvements without having to go to county taxpayers and get more money. So you're saving money, you're making improvements, and you're having a positive environmental impact in the community. And we look at using folks that are all Kentucky-based, best we can, keeping the money in the local community, so.
I mentioned on the slide about being started from local, and we want to have a local provider for warranty purposes. We don't want somebody having to come from Indianapolis to service Carroll County.
So I think just two more questions I think are directed at you all. So just remind me, you guys generally, serve as a general contractor, right? You're responsible for all trades, all of that type of stuff,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
So
sir.
we're hands off in terms of getting work done, so that's definitely.
We would probably.
We would approve.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
No, we would we'll have to follow weekly or bi-weekly progress meetings going on with the judge and Mr. Murphy or whoever he designates, keep you on the loop. We'll do, pre-scheduling if there's anything that needs to be done for any areas, everybody will be on the loop for what we're gonna do. We try and disrupt, we try and disrupt or minimize disruptions as much as possible. So, working in spaces when it's not as active as others.
Right.
Things of that nature.
Yeah, so
We handle all the logistics and coordination.
Okay, great, that's a huge benefit in a small organization, so that's huge. So the only other, and I touched on this earlier, and I guess, because just like the slide you showed with the EPA and, amount of trees we can save and amount of cell phones, I would be very interested to look at the economic trade-offs of having a utility take care of this. It's kind of Master Long's point too about ownership of the things. That's not our core competency. We don't have a lot of people around here that, I would like to look at that. I don't know if that can still be done under the umbrella of all of this. But it just seems if I can have more cells, Saturday and Sunday, I can pump and power the grid, it's the responsible thing to do. You know, and again, understand those, you know, that trade-off.
Yeah, so KU doesn't offer, that I'm aware of,
I looked at their website, they do.
so you're buying into a community solar farm, essentially?
No, this is actually, they give two examples. There was one of the bourbon distilleries and the Archdiocese down in Louisville.
Okay,
They've
I knew
actually-
Shelby, when I was working with Trimble County, Shelby did, you know, obviously you're buying into a community
Yeah.
solar.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in Dow did the same thing, bought into that, and it's like, you know, 100 miles away.
Yeah,
So I'm familiar with that. So I mean, I would at least like to explore something like that. Just, I mean, and again, it may not be the right thing to do, but just like the slide you pointed to, if there's, you know, and if it makes sense for the taxpayer and stuff, I don't know, and it may not.
yeah, I think from a net savings, you're gonna drop. You know, the ITC is carrying quite a bit of your cash flow right now. Obviously, this is, like Stu started with, $150,000 utility spend, you know, $150,000 roughly, you know, rounding way, but, you know, $150,000 ITC, that's essentially cutting 1 year of payback. So once you lose that, you know, again, utilities, you know, again, they're gonna charge for the service, obviously. So again, it's, I haven't seen that economic model work in a GESC. Like I said, I work with Trimble County to do that for the animal shelter between Henry and that actually worked because they were gonna pay back at retail. They weren't gonna pay back at wholesale.
Okay.
And so that's when I was mentioning the 3 cents and the 10 cents, we just gotta factor that in. And I think, you know, for you guys, the ownership side, and then if we need to look at kind of a maintenance agreement for the solar panels to give you guys some comfortability of having ownership of those, that's an option. You know, we don't jump right up in front because, you know, it adds cost to the project, but if that's something you guys wanna add, you know, just to give you that comfortability, like I said, the 20-year, you know, term on the inverter is, again, so we've got it covered to operate for 20 years.
Square and a half, I'm hearing you right, hands off. You don't want to put a burden on anybody in the county for maintenance oversight.
Yeah, because they're only gonna be as efficient as their maintenance program.
Exactly,
I mean, just like you
exactly.
said,
So I
sometimes-
hear you loud and clear, and, you know, we can say, okay, let's see, how can we do, right now, we're structuring it where, and there's not a lot of maintenance to them anyway, but if you're looking for something like that, you know, we can find the most equitable way to.
Yeah, it just seems, I mean, again, there's an asset there that, again, 2 days out of 7 is sitting there idle, and you've got an opportunity, it'll generate power if you want it to, and if it doesn't.
We don't have a problem sizing it to buy it back,
Yeah.
just a.
And again, but you know, it's an economic decision, you know, and so,
I hear you loud and clear. Be happy to do that.
yeah, thank you so much, that's.
Sure.
Good question. Appreciate you guys giving the demonstration and everything,
You've done
information on all
this.
this.
Sure. No, we appreciate your time this morning, and, you know,
I'm sure we'll be in touch a lot more here, sure.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good to see you all today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. Well, moving on. And you guys are welcome to stay around if we want to talk about this afterwards.
Okay, sure.
The letters and stuff I gave you from Danielle Kinman, we need from county clerk's office, we need a motion on that to accept that.
So I guess we need to do a separate motion for the budget transfer and then one for the.
It can all be done together.
It can all be done, yeah.
Okay, so I will make a motion then to approve the transfers for $1,050.
Motion by Scott, second by Clay, all in favor say aye. Okay. I have to make an appointment today for the Fire Protection District Board. The recommendation and wants to be back on board is Johnny Bernardsdale. So I do make that appointment today. I guess we do need to approve that. Motion by Clay, second by Scott, all in favor say aye. Okay. Financial report, you have the informational packet in your budget only. Judge's comments. Just remind everybody about on 11th of this month, which is Wednesday, tomorrow. It is tomorrow. The Carroll and Prestonville Bridge Replacement Project Open House is at the Conference Center at General Butler State Park. This is kind of a 2-hour thing, just to walk through, get information and stuff on it. So that will be tomorrow evening from 5 to 7 p.m. On Monday, the 16th, I'm sorry, a working meeting, feasibility study, a working meeting with the jail here at the courthouse at 10 a.m. on a feasibility study. This is, so the paper's been duly notified there, Taylor. Okay. That will, also this coming next week on the 20th will be the county Christmas dinner here in this room here. Everybody, you're invited to attend. That will be at noon. And next fiscal court meeting has been rescheduled to 12/27 at 9 a.m. That's basically to bring up the pay of bills, invoices, and improve our minutes and stuff. So that will be, there'll be no department head meetings. Again, you've been notified again. So that will be at 9 a.m. on the 27th of this month. In your packet, you should have in your packet an upgrade on the courtroom here with the desk and stuff here. We got a quote the other day, it's $10,000 to do it, which I think was really reasonable for what we went through in doing it. So I just basically need the court's approval to go ahead and move forward. That money was budgeted in last year's budget.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
second that.
All right, so I will sign that off. And thanks to Roger's been working on this also, so we'll sign that off. Today. County Attorney, I know you gotta leave.
All right, everything, Judge.
Magistrates, start with Benji.
Yeah, Dave, the only thing I was just gonna ask is, we just asked Debbie about the transfer on the 60, whatever, while we did the 103, just follow up on that.
I'll have her work that down a little bit different, maybe put it in y'all's basket or something.
Yeah, or anything
Okay.
else.
Okay,
It's probably really simple.
Yeah,
right.
there ain't nothing, so.
It is simple once you sit there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clay? Scott?
I don't have anything, I guess other than, kind of curious, I know these guys want a decision, so how are we gonna work through to get that decision? Some of those type of things, and, cause I do, like I said, I made some comments on, the solar part of it, but I think, other projects, we have to be cognizant of everything that's going on, and absolutely love the idea, and I think overall generally support everything about it, but, we've got other things we think we want to do, and we talked about the clock tower, which, so I'm just curious how, because we're going to start taking on some debt, and so we have to be, cognizant of how we're going to manage that, so I'm just curious.
We'll work with Stuart and Ryan and get this funding set up and which way we're going to go. So we haven't done exactly sit down and discussed all that with them yet. So that's the next next in-house meeting that we'll do with them.
I mean, I don't know if we need to have a work session just to have some conversation about how this plays out.
We'll just get the ground lines, ground rules and stuff on this, how it's gonna go, and then we'll maybe have a work session.
First year or something. Yeah.
We'll get the ground rules on this stuff, how we're gonna go. And these guys
Can I
are
make
seeing,
a comment about the clock tower, or just a question? Just keep in mind, I don't know what the plan is with that, or when the timeline is about the election. We have no elections next year, doesn't yet, let's have a special election.
Would be an ideal time.
But it is restricted certain points during election time to get in there.
yes, it is, and we will work around it, but this is,
I don't know if it's something that's anytime soon or years down the road, but just keep that in mind.
I will explain how this is gonna work a little bit different with that clock tower.
Okay.
Okay.
I just need to go in
We're not in budget security yet.
No, we won't.
Which, I mean, like I said, next year we don't have any elections, so there's really no I mean, we have to keep it
Right.
locked, obviously, but,
Okay.
I mean, there are times when like, no access can be.
Well, we just gotta give you a heads up, like, a long time, if we need to like move that stuff into a different room or
Right,
something.
yeah.
We just need to plan.
Yeah, it's
We
so
got-
many days before the election and so many days after.
And we've got another room that we can secure.
Yeah, because we would just have to move the cameras.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
It doesn't matter to me, but.
That's a good plan. Yeah, can't forget that.
All right, I have nothing for the executive session. Need a motion to